manager, leader. You hear these words thrown around constantly, right? But what do they really mean? Today, we're going to dig into that crucial difference, and I mean really dig in, to figure out what it takes to drive actual, meaningful change in any organization.
All right, so let's get right into it. This isn't just a word game, you know? How you understand this difference can literally shape your career, and even the future of your company. They get used like they're the same thing all the time, but they're not. They're two totally different systems of action. And getting that distinction, that's step one to being genuinely effective.
So, to really wrap our heads around this, we got to start with the basics. Let's look at the classic manager's playbook. I mean, this role didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? It was born out of a real need, the need to wrangle the chaos as organizations started getting bigger and more complex.
Okay, so what is management at its heart? It's really all about one thing: coping with complexity. John Kotter from Harvard said it best: a manager's main job is to create stability and order. We're talking about planning, budgeting, organizing, all the nuts and bolts that keep a big, complicated machine from just falling apart.
And believe me, it's not just one simple job, it's a whole bunch of jobs rolled into one. A manager has to wear so many different hats, right? You've got to be a figurehead, you've got to decide who gets what resources, you have to be a negotiator, and sometimes you've got to be all of those things before lunch.
This framework from Mintzberg, it's a fantastic map of that crazy world. You can see how he breaks it down into these three main areas. But no matter what role a manager is playing, whether they're the spokesperson or the problem solver, it all boils down to the same thing: taking in information, processing it, and using it to keep the whole operation running smoothly, predictably, like a well-oiled machine.
But then something started to shift. Around the 1970s, people started thinking, is just managing really enough? The world was picking up speed, things were changing faster than ever before, and it became pretty clear that the old playbook, well, it didn't have all the answers anymore.
And this, right here, was a game changer. You had this guy, Abraham Zalesnik, who basically just tossed a grenade into the middle of all the conventional wisdom. He asked this revolutionary question: are managers and leaders even the same kind of person? I mean, wow, that question kicked off this huge debate that lasted for decades. And it led to John Kotter eventually saying, look, leadership isn't just management plus. It's a totally separate system for dealing with one thing: change.
So here's the absolute key takeaway. If management is all about creating order, then leadership is all about creating change. Think about it. Managers plan and budget, right? They're aiming for predictable, consistent results. Leaders, on the other hand, they set a direction. They create a vision for a future that doesn't exist yet. Managers organize people, leaders align them.
And Zalesnik just hit the nail on the head with this. I love this quote. Here's a way to think about it. Managers are focused on making the box we're in as efficient and perfect as possible. But leaders, they're the ones standing back and asking, hey, why are we even in a box to begin with? They're constantly challenging how things are done.
Okay, so let's get practical. If leadership is all about sparking change, how do they actually do it? What's in their toolkit? Because, spoiler alert, it is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
Right. So if a manager has a playbook with set plays, a leader has a whole toolkit. You wouldn't try to fix everything with just a hammer, would you? Of course not. A great leader knows when it's time to be transformational, to get up there and inspire everyone with a big vision. And they also know when it's time to be a servant leader, to just get out of the way and clear roadblocks for their team. It's all about picking the right tool for the job.
And that brings us to one of the most powerful tools in that kit. It's the thing that connects the big, inspiring vision to what actually gets done every day. And that's delegation. But hold on, this is so much more than just offloading your to-do list. When it's done right, it's about building your team up and creating trust.
Yeah, see, real delegation isn't just, hey, you do this. It's a whole process. It's a discipline. You've got to think carefully about what to delegate, who to give it to, communicate it clearly, and then follow through. And when you nail this process, the payoff is huge. It's not just about freeing up your own time. You're actually developing your people. You're building that crucial trust, and you're literally multiplying your own impact. So, okay, let's bring this into the here and now. What does all this mean for us today? Well, the modern workplace is tricky. It's full of these subtle tests of leadership, and it's so easy to fall into traps that feel like you're being productive, but are really just pulling you away from the work of real leadership.
And one of the biggest traps out there is this whole idea of managing up. You know what I'm talking about? Spending all your time and energy trying to please your boss instead of empowering your actual team.
It can seem smart politically, but it's such a dangerous distraction. Your focus is pointed in completely the wrong direction.
And that upward focus, it can get toxic fast. Because when the number one goal becomes make the boss happy, what happens? Innovation? Gone. People are too scared to take risks. Trust? It just evaporates. Your team feels like you've abandoned them. And your best people, the ones you absolutely need to keep, they're not going to stick around. They'll go find a real leader, someone who's actually invested in them.
Which brings me to this really powerful idea from Ronald Heifetz. He came up with a way to think about the problems we face, breaking them down into two totally different types of challenges. And honestly, being able to tell the difference, it's everything.
I mean, look at this. This distinction is so clarifying. On one side, you have technical problems. Think of these like a puzzle. They might be hard, but there's a solution, and an expert can probably figure it out. That's a job for a manager. But then you have adaptive challenges. Things like trying to change a company's entire culture. There is no easy answer. There's no expert you can just call. It requires people themselves to change their values, their beliefs. You can't just manage your way through that. You have to lead.
And that's really the question for all of us, isn't it? Look, we absolutely need management. Without it, you get chaos. But without leadership, you get stagnation. You make no progress. The true art, the real skill, is knowing which hat you need to wear at any given moment, and having the guts to put on that leader hat, especially when the path forward is foggy and uncertain. That, right there, is what makes all the difference.